Hey guys, it's QuickyBaby, and today ttchip is going to show us some gameplay in the E-100 Jagdpanzer. Now this is a tank that you don't see that often in highlight kind of videos, and this one definitely deserves to be. Now the E-100 Jagdpanzer, when it first came out, had the highest alpha damage in the game. Then, I think 5 patches later, Wargaming released the British tanks, and then I think a patch or two after that, the tank destroyers along with them, and the FV215B183 came out, which meant that the Jagdpanzer E-100 had 100 points less alpha damage on its 170mm than the 183mm, which even with its AP rounds does 1,150 on the FV215B. If you fire Hesh, then well, you're simply gonna wreck the enemy tanks until this patch, when its penetration has been nerfed a little bit. But if you do penetrate the enemy with that 230mm of penetration, you're able to do 1,750 damage, i.e. you one-shot quite a few, well, every tank that's lower tier than you, and there are even some tier 10 tanks which you can one-shot. So I believe that's why the Jagdpanzer E-100 is probably played a lot less. And maybe players who really enjoyed that high alpha damage gameplay that they get in the Jagdpanzer E-100 moved into the FV215B183. However, with the nerf on the FV215B183, maybe there's now more room than ever for the Jagdpanzer E-100. And its strength, compared to the 183, is its armor. Doesn't have a turret, doesn't have the most alpha damage, but its armor is infinitely better. And if you can hide your lower plate, like Chip is doing here, then you're nearly impenetrable, apart from one of the weak points on top of your vehicle. So ttchip tried to shoot the top of the IS-3 turret there. That's one of the weakest parts of the IS-3 armor. Fortunately for him, luck wasn't on his side, and his shell ditched itself into, well, embedded itself into the rock face. As you can see, the rate of fire on the Jagdpanzer E-100 is pretty darn slow, and it should be to do 1,100 alpha damage. Oh, that's painful. Is that deja vu? Holy moly. ttchip must be cursing his luck right now, as the second shot that he puts at the IS-3, which probably I'd say 8 times out of 10 would hit, embeds another round into the rock. But that one dipped nicely for him. That one dipped into the side of the front armor there on the IS-7, doing 1,095 damage. So one of the most heavily armored tanks in the game, well, at least frontally. Now Chip is considering firing at the KV-4 now, but he's not interested. Now we can see the IS-7 is aiming at the superstructure of his tank, but Chip gives him one in reply. No one else has damaged that IS-7, but Chip has done 2,124 damage to him with just 2 shots. Now just to quickly show you where that one penetrated, it was the superstructure. The first 2 rounds that hit it bounced, and then the third one penetrated. Now Chip managed to absorb a shot from that ST-1 and put a great hit into his track. Another 1,000 damage done nearly to that ST-1. And slowly advancing at the enemy IS-3. He's waiting to see if that ST-1 will come around the corner, and thankfully for him, yes he will. He 2-shot that tier 9 heavy tank. Made him look rather silly. Now Chip sets his eyes on this IS-3. Oh, he bounces. And embeds 170mm somewhere into the back of that tank. That would have just blown the IS-3 up. This VK4502B took a shot at ttchip's tracks. Didn't manage to damage him though. He's only slowed him down momentarily. Now this VK4502B has now got 200mm of frontal hull armor in 9.2. And even though the VK tries to stick his gun up, he sees Chip aiming at his turret. He tries to use the gun to absorb the shell. Chip manages to bypass it and hit his weak points. This is the problem with the VK4502B. You might have 200mm of frontal hull armor, but if you're using a stock turret, you're not going to be doing too well for yourself. Especially considering that that is probably the 105mm on the VK4502B, which is only capable of doing 320 alpha damage with 225mm of penetration. And the thing that I want to highlight with this replay is, this is what the E-100 Jagdpanzer is good for. When its armor works, it's so much better than the FV215B183. All of these shots could easily have penetrated. What? Oh my word, I'd forgotten about that one. Okay. A one-shot ttchip just totally evened up this game. It was looking a little grave, but his team make a good comeback, killing 2 tanks in rapid succession. One-shotting the Tiger II on the enemy team, and making him now look like a VK4502B with the new turret position. So the VK4502B was so focused on the E50, who was hiding behind the ttchip. He was using him to avoid shells, that he ignored him and allowed ttchip to flank him and get a nice shot into his lower plate. Chip bounced a shell from an Object 704, which uses a BL-10, has extra high penetration, and it still was unable to go through the Jagdpanzer E-100's armor. The Object 704 then simply panicked, got himself stuck while reversing, and had over half his health shaved off by this beastly 170mm on the Jagdpanzer E-100. So ttchip absorbed a couple of shells from across the way. We can see there is a rather good E50 on the enemy team, who is on 6 kills himself. He's already picked up the Top Gun, and I bet you he wants to take out Chip before he's able to steal his Top Gun away from him. Now Chip has kind of got himself into a tricky situation. I think he went forwards there almost in autopilot, and now he has got himself into a dip with a Top Gun E50 above him and a KV-4 rapidly approaching from the other flank, and now a T-44 appearing as well. The KV-4 tracks Chip, holding him in place, and the T-44 was unable to penetrate him. But it looks like the E-50 did not expect this. Oh, what a fantastic shot there by Chip. That was probably the shot that put him in contention to win this game. It was looking really ugly. And the marksmanship of ttchip there, combining his excellent penetration and the knowledge that the E-50 has weak turret armor, to good effect. Now Chip puts in an excellent shot into the KV-4, who I believe is wondering, what is this T-44 doing? I think the T-44 must have run away thinking, I'm not fighting that man, I can't even penetrate it. And left his team to wilt away. So I believe the T-44 left the fight probably before the E-50 had died. And seeing how he has reached the cap circle now, he must have left a while ago. Maybe he thought, well, the E-50 and the KV-4 can hold him here, and I'll go and cap to secure the game because we can't deal with, well, at least the T-44 must have thought, I can't deal with that Tier 10 German tank. And not many Tier 8 mediums can deal with the E-100 Jagdpanzer. You'd have to get to the side, shoot it here to hold it in place, shoot it here, or engage it from long range and shoot it flush in the side here or in the back. One of the interesting things about this replay is no one has shot Chip here, which is a weak point on the E-100 Jagdpanzer and is clearly visible from every direction. So now Chip is making his way back towards the cap circle, and I've said it about this map before. There is a rock that people can hide behind, but because the rock is situated on the edge of the cap circle, that means that they can't escape. If the T-44 had wanted to escape, he would have had to leave the cap circle and not won the game. Of course, the T-44 could have drawn this game by simply kiting Chip around this rock for the remainder of it, but there was no way that he could cap. Chip would have simply been able to push out round the corner and force him out of the cap circle. T-44 seemed to have panicked, thinking, oh god, that E-100 Jagdpanzer who I thought was dealt with has come over to get his revenge, and no one could escape Chip today. So let's take a quick look at the post-game stats. So what a fantastic round for ttchip there. He managed to pick up the Radley-Walters medal with that 8th kill, unsurprisingly the high caliber and the defender with a steel wall. He made 120,000 credits, netting himself 70,000 profit, with 1,570 base experience and 10,800 damage done. What a ridiculous game this was. ttchip fired 16, hit 14, and of those 13 penetrated. Looks like he got all of his bad RNG out at the start of the game with those shots at that IS-3 turret. And this is the real reason why I wanted to show you this gameplay. 29 hits received, of which 9 penetrated, giving him over 8,000 damage blocked by armor and 9,500 potential damage received. And that has to really be the only argument for the Jagdpanzer E-100 over the FV215B183. This was a perfect situation for the Tier 10 German tank destroyer. A linear fight down a pass where it doesn't need a turret, it doesn't need any mobility or track traverse. It can use that strong frontal armor to weather anything that the enemies are able to throw at it, and high alpha damage and high penetration to be able to return fire at an almost unparalleled magnitude. ttchip, thank you so much for this game, and congratulations for probably one of the biggest and best games I've ever seen in the E-100 Jagdpanzer. And I'm sure we're going to see a lot more people playing Jagdpanzer E-100s now that the 183 has been nerfed and the Waffenträger Alpha E-100 has been nerfed. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider rating it down below. It'll really help the channel out. And let me know in the comments what you think about the Jagdpanzer E-100, specifically how it does against the FV215B183. Both in a direct fight and also a comparison between the two vehicles. Anyway, as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.